So yesterday we showed some of the ways that tryptophan can be shunted away from its conversion into serotonin via the activation of two different enzymes, a TDO and an IDO. We went down that path. Now we'll go a little bit more into it. We said that TDO enzyme is activated by stressors. More so, it's the release of cortisol from the adrenal glands, which is released in response to stress. Again, that is not just stress experienced between the ears or how we interpret the world around us, or that mental, emotional stress, but it's all stressors. Again, pulling that tryptophan away from its pathway to serotonin. Thus, increased stress, we see a mechanism right there. We don't have to rely on pharmaceuticals or bust. And there's not something necessarily inherently wrong with you or defunct that you're experiencing some of the low serotonin symptoms, anxiety, depression, rage, paranoia, loss of interest, things like that, increased sensitivity to pain, things like that. It's not necessarily something wrong with the individual. We want to uncover the lifestyle and the interactions with our environment that may be playing a role in inhibiting you from experiencing your best you. Let's talk about the stressors. Again, we've got to wrap our head around this. So much of this, when it comes to the mental and emotional stressors, that is an imperative thing to work. Like we talked about before, the mind muscle may be the hardest one to tame, the hardest one to work out, but the one that may yield the most far-reaching benefits. So doing some type of work on that level can just yield such exponential results, including downregulation of this TDO enzyme. Downregulation of this TDO enzyme means more tryptophan to serotonin, means I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great, less pain, I got smooth GI transit, I'm not feeling anxious, I'm not feeling depressed, life is good, more energy, the whole nine. The other aspect of the stressors to be cognizant of, and this is why we look big pictures, toxic stressors in the body. Again, the body views all this toxic body burden, the exposure on a daily basis, it views all this as stressors. Triggers the adrenal stress-firing pathway, cortisol released, TDO up, less tryptophan and serotonin, if you follow me there on all that. That is why this is such an essential component of this. We want to limit our exposures to the toxins. It's inevitable. We're going to be around them. I know that. So twofold. One, if you can avoid them in certain areas that you can avoid them, avoid them. Switch to certain products that are less toxic, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's BPA-free receipt paper like I use for everyone in our office, whether it's organic food when you can do it so you get less pesticide, less herbicide exposure. All of these things, little things. It doesn't have to be all at once. It can seem overwhelming, but just lower it a little bit. Now you're lowering the incoming bombardment that your body needs to detox. The incoming bombardment that ramps up how much energy you need just to sustain life and process all this crap out of you. If you can avoid it, avoid it. The other aspect is every now and then, once a year, twice a year, depending on your lifestyle, ramp up, support the detoxification pathways. Kick out some of those toxins. Kick out some of those that have bioaccumulated in your body, as such are upregulating the stress response from your body. You could be feeling fine between the head, but if you're bombarded with all these chemicals that you've been exposed to, and they're just nestled in this organ or nestled in that adipose tissue, slow leak, causing a slow stressor to the body, it's going to cause that stress response. It's going to cause the cortisol. It's going to increase that enzyme TDO. We got less tryptophan going to serotonin, more going to niacin. Remember the niacin, the B3, the reason it goes to niacin is because exposure to these stressors. Stressors between the ears. It's like, if it's nonstop and unmitigated, it's like having your foot slammed on the accelerator and never coming off, never taking a break. And if that is so, imagine your engines are just revving. You're burning through resources. You need more fuel. Part of that fuel to keep us alive, that constant engine revving from the constant chronic stress, part of that fuel to keep us alive is the niacin. The niacin that can come from tryptophan at the expense of serotonin. So we want to slow down as much as possible. We want to take our foot off the accelerator from time to time. We want to lessen the toxic body burden, thus lessening the entire stress load on the body. Less demand on the body, less revving of that gas pedal. Less firing up of the mitochondria and burning of that niacin, needing more niacin for NAD to push those mitochondria. We need less of it because we're calming down. Cool. Now more of that serotonin can get down to more of that tryptophan can get down to serotonin, and now I'm relaxed. I'm cool. Hey, I have more serotonin, now I have more melatonin, and I'm going to sleep.